Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann.
This is Steiny.
This one's going to be an angry downer.
Oh.
It is.
Politics?
No.
Okay.
Family court.
Oh, yeah. Been through some of that.
As have I, and I am now. And I'm just going to start off with this statement. I believe nationwide that the family court system is due for a drastic overhaul that starts with 50-50 from the time of separation until you have your trial. So that as soon as the couple decides they don't want to be together anymore, there's a plan in place when they can't agree so they don't have to fight. So that they each get to have equal share and time in their children's lives. And one parent can't lord over all the time and the communication and be a control freak and keep the other parent away to establish emotional dependency in the children, or badmouth the other parent and alienate them from the kids and make it so it makes it more difficult. Now, I will say this. I have found out that only one state in the entire US of A does this. Guess.
It's not ours.
It's not ours.
You know, we're pretty archaic when it comes to parental rights and especially the man's rights. I'm going to guess it's someplace you wouldn't expect, like Texas.
Alaska.
Oh, a place I wouldn't have expected. Okay.
Right. I'm also going to say this. I firmly believe that with the massive amounts of divorce filings that are going on these days, that there should be a standard that if you're going to get married, they used to make you go through like counseling through a church and shit, but you can't do church anymore.
No, but I think there used to still be like a counseling program or some type of suggested required type stuff, yeah.
Now, we had to go talk to her friend that was the officiant at our wedding that's basically like a fucking tarot card reader and spiritual healer and shit like that. It still counts.
It worked, huh?
What do you mean? It qualified for the counseling portion, but I don't think it gave us a leg up on being successful in our marriage.
That's what I mean. Like, they require this of you, and it's still not guaranteed it's going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think there needs to be a requirement of X amount of time that you spend in couples counseling so that you must try it and then either fail at it or decide, work on it, or separate, so that you can't just file for divorce willy-nilly. And I'm not one of these conservative Christian types that's like, let's abolish no-fault divorce. Because then you get the women's rights advocates that say, well, no fault makes it easy for women to leave abusive relationships when they otherwise couldn't. I'm like, what do you mean they otherwise couldn't? Do you understand the amount of privilege that your vagina affords you when it comes to family court and orders for protection? All you need to say is the words, I'm scared of him, and please keep him away. And most of the time, they will rubber stamp an HRO or an OFP, order for protection.
Whether you've done anything or not.
Yeah, and then
that's the real crime. Is it can just be a false accusation. Yep.
Then you're fighting from your heels to try to get back to fucking 50-50 at minimum. And it's just so unfair. Now, there were all these women on the internet that when guys whine about having to, spend all this money and go through all these hoops. And they're like, well, if she sucks as a mom, take her to court. Take her to court. Fight her for custody. And my question is, why should I fucking have to? If there was an established preset 50-50, then my wife and I wouldn't be fighting right now over the kids. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of what's going on, but I will mention I haven't seen my son and daughter, who are 5 and 7, in 46 motherfucking days. And it is killing me emotionally. And it's because of legal maneuvers and back channel machinations that women are able to do this, because so many family court lawyers are heartless scumbags that they will do anything to win. They don't care who they fucking hurt. They don't care how much of a tab they run up the other party. They want the win. They're trying to get the best deal. And the litmus test is the 12 factors of best interest for the children. And I swear to God, that's like the last fucking thing that a number of these lawyers consider. And the ones that seem to be the most vicious are the fucking female ones. And who do they normally represent? The moms. So I'll walk out the fucking statistics again. 70% of divorces are initiated by women. That number climbs to 80% when the woman makes more money. And joint custody isn't very popular like you think it should be. But when I went to my first court hearing for our divorce, the judge did say, I want you to know right now, both of you, that in my mind the standard is 50-50. It's best for the kids. It's fair for everybody. And it takes a lot to sway my judgment. Which is why when you get a judge saying that, you will get these fucking family court attorneys that will pull these dastardly tricks to try to shade you to look one way or the other and make accusations that might be completely baseless that you're spending all this time and money to fight against when you shouldn't fucking have to. And why is that? Because there is no legal penalty whatsoever for lying, trickery, shenanigans, half-truths, embellishment, or lies by omission in family court. Women can go in there, and men can do it too, but if you're looking at 70% of the divorces filed by women, and the women go in for custody so that they can get more fucking child support, and these kids are fucking spending more time with mom while the dads are basically breaking their back to pay these exorbitant child support fees, and these women work part-time. You know what it is because your ex did it. 2 part-time jobs to make it look like she made less money to get more from you. So basically, anybody can go in a family court and they can bullshit their way through. And I have come to the belief that it's not what you can prove, it's what you can make somebody think, feel, or believe.
That's our court system a lot, but yeah.
So if there's a jury and you make them believe you're innocent, you go scot-free like OJ did. Or maybe if there's a racial element, they're like, fuck this, the cop's white and the guy was black, and then the cop gets nailed to a cross. Pretty much deserved it, though, with Derek Chauvin. So in family court, there's nothing to stop these people from going in and bullshitting. And it makes me think of the movie Liar, Liar. Jennifer Tilly is fucking lying through her teeth. And then somehow Jim Carrey's able to fucking get it out of her that no goodery is happening here. And it's so fucking hard to fight accusations because as soon as they make them, you're dealing with possibly the police, you're dealing with the courts, you're dealing with child protective services, you might be assigned a guardian ad litem. There's all these avenues that cost money that they only focus on what's being alleged, not the whole picture or the totality of the circumstances. So that's why it pays to be the petitioner and not the respondent.
Absolutely.
But I'm saying that not only should 50-50 be the standard so that men don't have to fight so fucking hard and break their pocketbooks and their hearts and their backs just to see the kids that they helped fucking create, that they love. And with an epidemic of fathers that don't fucking show up, you would think more women would be happy that these men want to be in their kids' lives. But I propose that the system needs an overhaul where the burden of proof is raised to the same level as fucking criminal court, beyond a reasonable doubt. You need to be there with it.
Well,
okay?
I could understand in some cases not having the evidence, but there should be penalties for perjury, right, in family court. You shouldn't be able to lie and just make up complete falsehoods like that. You know what I mean? There should be some level of, hey, you're here to tell the truth.
Yeah, but people are doing whatever they can to win, and that's the fucked up part because the kids get caught in the middle. So what I'm saying is, like you stated, there's no penalty for perjury. Well, that's the fucked up part. Some lawyers will say, well, there is a penalty. If the judge thinks that you're lying, they might side against you. But that's not enough to dissuade these shady, underhanded tactics.
That's not a penalty.
To weigh the scale. That's a gamble. It's not a penalty. So I'm saying that there must be provable abuse. Not he made me feel bad and they call it abuse. I mean, he fucking beat you. He beat the kids. There's sexual assault. He damaged your property. He stole your things. He sold your shit. You know, provable abuse. Because the word abuse gets thrown around like fucking transphobia and racism that it's lost all meaning. And worse off is years ago, the brilliant fucking government of our state, Minnesota, decided that instead of having a fucking window of X amount of years for statute of limitations on when you can claim abuse. They've opened it up to basically, in perpetuity, you can go back as far as you want to claim there was abuse. Even though it might not have happened for years and nothing transpired for a number of years, they'll still say, well, that did happen. It's fucking bullshit. There needs to be a firm cutoff, and then basically, if you file an OFP or an HRO and it's proven that you did so in bad faith, then you're being charged with a felony and your lawyer is losing their license to practice for 6 months. You want to talk about correcting the fucking problem overnight? I mean, you raise the burden of proof with the 50-50 automatic, as long as there's not abuse, but it has to be actual abuse, not, oh, I felt like I was scared, and you're rolling your eyes at scared, and you never called the cops for years, and you never said shit to anybody, and you didn't do anything about it, and you play that same old song and dance bullcrap of, well, I was scared what would happen. Bullshit. You are a woman. You just say, protect me, and everyone protects you. If you're a man, and you say, my fucking spouse or girlfriend tuned me up, and the cops come, they're going to make you fucking leave. Mm-hmm. They're going to expect you to leave, even if you're not the aggressor. Yep. Most of the time, still, somehow, it boggles the mind.
It happened as a situation at my place. I was asked to leave, and I'm like, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is my house. We have enough room here. We have enough levels and floors. She can stay upstairs. I do not have to leave.
And the worst part there is the cops show up, and they don't even care about getting it right. They just want to get it done and over with to get out of there, because domestics can go sideways. And it's the calls that usually end up with people flipping out and taking swings at each other, the cops getting stuck in the middle or something.
Yep.
I get why, with officer safety in mind, you would want to get those over with. But your average police officer is in no way trained or prepared to deal with civil issues. And whenever you call the cops, it's a civil issue. You'll have to go to court. You'll have to go to court. Well, if it's a fucking felony to falsely claim assault, abuse, rape, this, that, the other, and the cops are forced to fucking take somebody into custody when they make those accusations and there's proof. A black eye, torn clothes, blood and cum leaking out of her asshole. Obvious shit.
See, I, though, happen to have a wife who is like a 70-year-old woman, right, in that she will bruise and doesn't even know how. You know what I mean? That's not always a sign of abuse, right? Like, I've never laid a hand on her, a finger on her, but how do I know she's not taking pictures of times where she just bumped herself and claim, oh, that's when he hit me, or you know what I mean? So there's some things that, even when it looks like abuse, it's not abuse, right?
Well, the big component here is an established pattern of police contact,
right? Okay.
To document a narrative over time.
And there wasn't one in your situation.
No. Yeah. And if, let's say, somebody gets hit with a protection order out of the blue, and everything in it is years ago, and the other person never called the police,
right?
How the fuck is that fair?
How is that even admissible?
Fucking, I don't know. It's just the games that people play, and I know it sounds like I'm fucking bashing women here, but you play the averages, and when you're a man on the receiving end, it is fucking mortifying to go in front of a judge, even when you think you're in the right, like I was the last go-round with the Beast, and I had all this shit on her, and I was the petitioner. Even then, everyone's like, oh, you got this, slam dunk, you're going to fucking steamroll her, and I said, no, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You're overconfident. It's not a guarantee. Plenty of shitty moms do shitty things, and then they do the minimum amount of work to get what they want, and the judge is like, okay, well, I guess, there you go. Joint custody again.
I think the biggest thing that you have to consider is kind of what I started saying off here. Now, I've gone through the system a little different, but I also went through the whole child support system and court system years ago now and finished up. This state is not favorable for the dad in any way, shape, or form. And it's almost like it's been set up for this culture that's existed now for the last 40 or 50 years here. You know what I mean? Where dads have not had any rights. The parental form that you sign only gives them the right to come after you for child support. It doesn't give you any legal rights if you're not married. If you are married, like you say, there's all these things that if you're not the first one to do it, and even if you are, because you are the man, you do not have, you're not seen favorably in the court's eyes, right?
No.
You're not given the benefit of the doubt. You're not given equal standing, right? And that's what really sucks. And I don't know, I've heard there are some states that are better, that are a little better when it comes to child support, when it comes to fatherly rights. But I think one thing that we don't know is we don't live in those other states, so we only see how effed up Minnesota is, right?
Yeah.
How kind of backwards they are. And that's what sucks. I'm very progressive in a lot of things, and I am usually left-leaning in my politics. But something like that is not fair. And I know why they did it way back when. I know why some of these policies came around. I just don't agree with them still being in place now.
Well, they're antiquated. Women work now.
Right.
They're equal earners.
Right.
And
it's
to
not
sit
the
there
60s and
fucking
70s.
Alimony, child support, spousal maintenance, all kinds of shit. And one thing that I saw, because Facebook pays attention to everything you do when you're Googling,
Okay.
is I'll get these Facebook reels about dads and custody shit.
Sure.
And there was a video just the other night about Title 4D.
Never heard of it.
Title 4D deals with child support. And it basically is that there's like dollar value matching between federal and state. So it's favorable for the state to collect child support so that they get the same amount of money matched federally. Mm-hmm. And one state that is totally fucked is Texas, because in Texas it's like they fund everything off of child support. It seems.
Oh, sure.
Is how it was presented. I can't fact check that, obviously.
No, it's not true. Obviously, Texas has a lot more in their economy than just child support coming in.
But here's the funny thing, is child support can cripple a man. Cripple you financially. And the point is to establish an equitable standard of living in both households. So if you take from him to the point where he's living hand to mouth, and he can never afford a car that's decent, and he's having to pick up extra fucking shifts just to pay your child support, well, he needs that extra money just to live, but if he makes more money, he has to pay her more money. So you've got him fucking trapped in this sense of indentured servitude to paying for his kids, and the state does nothing to audit how that parent spends the money.
No.
They just get the money, and they say, I take care of the kid, and then they just buy a new car for himself, or a vacation. Oh, because I parent all the time, I need a vacation. Oh, we have every game system. We have all this shit we don't need. We have a trampoline and a pool and a basketball court. What do you have? I have a car that barely fucking runs in an efficiency apartment, and when my kid comes to stay here, the kid sleeps in the one bedroom while I sleep on the couch.
Yep. It's amazing. I don't know how, when you do go out there and you look at calculators when it comes to buying a house, it's supposed to be, 28% or something like that of your income you're supposed to be able to put towards a mortgage, right?
Yeah.
When they are taking almost a third of your income for child support, or can take up to a third of it, how are you supposed to be able to afford a house with that other 2/3, right? And then 1/3 left over for everything else: car payment, car insurance, house insurance,
Food, utilities,
clothing, everything else for your child. It just can't possibly happen. And what was crazy, in my instance, we were 50-50, and I still had to pay that adjustment to my son's mom to make the households even, because I made more money. Even though the custody was split right down the middle, I still had to pay her support to the tune of a few $100s a month.
Yeah.
And
that's a car payment.
During that whole time, I'm glad you brought that up. During that whole time, she lived in a nicer place. Wherever she was always in a nicer place, nicer apartment, and always had a nicer vehicle than me. And she would bitch about how much I paid in rent. And she's like, oh, you got such a good deal here. You guys got a steal here. I wish I could get that kind of a deal. And it's like, this is all I can afford, you scab.
And
right?
yeah, and she's fucking saying her rent's so high because she's going to nicer places. You could get lower rent too if you live in a shithole.
Exactly.
Or Section 8.
You could have made the same sacrifices that I was forced to make because that's all I could afford. And like you said, for years, I didn't buy myself clothes. I didn't buy myself new clothes. All I had was work clothes and leftover T-shirts and jeans that I kept wearing for years. It wasn't until I started dating again, right, that I started getting new clothes again.
So imagine this now. If there's a 50-50 automatic, right? Well, that's going to really put a dent in the amount of child support going anywhere.
Oh, sure. Yeah, because there's not as much coming into the system because you don't have to balance the households as much.
So there's not a cottage industry of women that are staying home when they have the kids for the first few years. and then realizing, I don't think I love him, and I'm not happy anymore. And as the saying goes, a man will give up everything to make his family happy. A woman will give up her family to make herself happy. It's kind of shitty.
My wife's mom did that, actually, yeah.
Yeah, so she's like, fuck this, I'm leaving. Well, she hasn't been working, so she's going to get spousal maintenance. And then she's going to have the kids more because she can, because she doesn't work really. So she's going to get a shit ton of child support. So he's going to lose all of this financial stability. But what's he really going to lose? His sense of self.
And his time with his kids.
Yeah, you don't get it back.
No.
I mean, anytime somebody throws out false accusations, you don't get to see your kids. I doubt if they shoot down the accusations and say, you know what, it was wrong of them to do that, you're probably not going to get compensatory time.
I can't imagine they would.
They should.
Right?
I mean, I'm telling you that if it was a crime to fucking do that, and if you still file for one, and then they find that you did not do so in good faith, you should get back 5 times as many days as you missed.
I agree.
I mean, it needs to be so fucking alarming that they're like, whoa, we can't do this anymore. We have to start playing fair and mediating and trying to solve it without a bunch of mudslinging. Because so many divorces, people go into it with the mindset like, well, so many people do it and it gets messy and they hate each other. But that's not going to be us.
Gotta be us.
And then it fucking happens to 80% of those motherfuckers anyway, because everybody starts getting selfish and cutthroat. And I think I know what's best, and you think you know what's best, and I want this and you want that.
Well, and so many people go, yeah, what yours is yours, what's mine is mine, and then we split what was ours. Well, then it becomes a disagreement about what's ours and what's even between that. You know what I mean?
And then people will then use property and fighting over money to try to strong-arm
Proxy
somebody
battles.
for more fucking custody. And it's just like, the courts should be doing what they say they do, ruling in the child's best interest. And that is to have 2 stable parents with 2 equal share households that are of the same standard of quality, so that if you give 50-50, there's not as much money changing hands, you're not breaking one parent's bank to support the other, and then calling it even when it's clearly fucking discongruent in standard. And men will have more rights. Like, if I was going to fucking run for Senate of Minnesota, I can tell you right now, my biggest platforms would be
dad's
rights and criminal justice reform.
Yeah, you probably get a lot of votes.
On the dad's rights alone, women would go ape shit going, hey, no, that's not fair. Fuck you. Where's the accountability? Can you imagine a shittier way to break a person down than to take their fucking kids away? I'm telling you, I never went more than 38 hours without talking to my son and daughter on the phone since they've been born or seeing them in person. Oh. I've gone 46 fucking days. I'm basically living a family court version of Vietnam. I'm fighting a war I shouldn't fucking have to, and knowing that I'm going to come out of it just fucking decimated. And it's sickening because stories like this are so commonplace. And women will say, well, if he would have taken care of things at home, if he would have this, if he would have that, if he didn't do that. Well, how about if you would fucking try to go to counseling and work through some shit? Because which one of the 2 genders is known for holding on to things and never letting go or moving past when they get upset about shit? It's not men. Yeah. And honestly, if I can wave a magic wand and make women 50% more logical and men 50% more emotional, that would balance us out so we're not such polar opposites. Can you imagine that?
It'd be pretty amazing.
It's just like, there's this comedian from, I think it's Estonia. I forget his fucking name. I think it's Ari Mete or something. He's on the Kill Tony podcast a lot. And he tells this joke that he was in a coffee shop and he heard this couple arguing. And he perked up his ears because he lives for that shit. And he's like, but here's the twist. It was 2 gay men.
Oh, yeah.
And you listen to it, and it's 2 people, and they're fighting. But they have a purpose, and they're trying to move the conversation in the same direction. Everyone's thinking logically. No one's bringing up old shit to try to win the conversation. The goal is to be better, not to try to win. So goes the saying about marriage, you can be happy or you can be right, but rarely can you be both. So I think that applies tenfold to family court. You can win, but what's the fucking cost in the long run? The damage to the other parent, who then is estranged from their children, Maybe they never make up that bond again. You feel better because you, quote, won, but there are no winners in divorce. It's like fucking war. Everybody's coming out of it with various levels of disability and trauma and mental impairment or missing pieces of their flesh. No one is whole. And as I told my wife at my kitchen table, there's no need for it to get ugly. If you want to hold things against me from in the past, I get it, but is that really the best route to go? Because, and she had never heard this before, as the saying goes, let the man who seeks revenge dig 2 graves, not 1.
Right.
What does that mean? I'm like,
oh, yeah.
If you seek revenge to even the score for your ego, you lose yourself in the process, and both parties are fighting to the bitter end. That is mutually assured destruction, which is the equivalent to what they say nuclear war would be if it broke out in our world. Everybody would nuke everybody. There'd be nobody left, and what little land there is still habitable would be poisonous and kill everybody, where the living would envy the dead.
Yep.
So for the fairness of everybody, but especially for the kids, not just for men that are like being left heartbroken and poor and never able to scratch and claw their way out and counting down the days till their kids turn 18, these kids that get caught in the middle that have to fucking pick a side or they play sides against each other because they want to please everybody and then they get coached into saying shit. It's just like all it does is just ruin the family bond. You could co-parent. You can. And since she's been gone, I fought like hell for us to do things as a family because I wanted my kids to see we're not together and we might not always get along, but we care about you guys enough to set our petty differences aside and give you memories of all of us together so you can look back and say, wow, okay, it didn't work for them, but they still did it right. And I've pushed so they'll go, okay, dad fucked up and mom left, but look at how hard he tried to keep us all together and make us whole. And most importantly, I didn't have sibling memories. My sister was mentally retarded to the nth degree. We didn't talk because she couldn't talk. So we didn't go to a lot of family Christmases or go see Christmas lights, pumpkin patches, apple orchards, to parades, to aquariums, to this, to that, to all the other fucking shit that I've made sure that we have done since my wife left here 3.5 years ago. I have fought and fought and fought to make sure that I saw them as much as I could, talked to them as much as I could, and we did stuff, all 5 of the kids, including my stepdaughter, who I'm basically estranged from. I want them to know what it's like to be able to maturely handle a broken, dysfunctional relationship and still be a human being about things, but that is a hell of a lot harder in the current family court makeup where it just grinds people up in the gears, and by people, I mostly mean men. So all this, women make 72 cents to the dollar of men, and men have all these jobs we can't, and all these opportunities, and it's not fair, and we want equality. I'm sure you do, but I want equality, where it really matters, in family court, so that children are raised by dads. As the statistics will show you, kids that grow up without a dad are all kinds of fucked up. Drinking, drugs, run-ins with the law, dropping out of school, teenage pregnancy. But if you look at single dad homes, those children grow up with a success rate and a level of functionality that is almost neck and neck with 2-parent intact family homes. What does that fucking tell you when you give the kids to women all the time and they have all these issues? They want what they want so they can get their fucking life paid for and have their cake and eat it too. Fuck the man. He was just your sperm donor. You got what you wanted, now you're kicking him to the curb? He shouldn't be able to have his entire life stolen from him and lose his kids that are the reason that he fucking soldiers through so much shit as men do, working hard, stuffing our feelings down, trying to fucking hold it together for everybody. And then if he slips up once, oh, I better hold it against him. How dare he crack under the immense pressure of being a man in society with all the responsibility and expectation of being fucking stoic and never breaking once. I've made mistakes. I've apologized profusely. I've tried to fix things. I suggested therapy. The other party said no. But if there was a standard that required it, at least we would have had to have tried it. If 50-50 was the standard right out of the gate, then the second that she left, we notified the courts and they enact it, and we have a schedule that they help us set up. And it might not be to everybody's liking, but at least there's 50-50, and nobody's going, I miss my kids. Haven't seen them. Haven't talked to them. I don't think any of that is unreasonable whatsoever. I just want there to be parity in the system for the sake of kids. Not just me, because there's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of men in my position, and I want all these kids to be better. If you want this nation to thrive, we need strong, resilient, emotionally stable children. And by taking fathers away, the disciplinarian, the one with the rules and the structure, typically, yeah, there's lots of deadbeat pieces of shit that go around knocking up multiple women and not caring for their kids. But for the men that want to be there, that really set the bar, you shouldn't be taking children away from them, because you're hurting those kids in the long run by stunting their development.
I think emotional stability comes from both parents, right? And I know that, it's best if you can have that in the same home, but it can't. The next best thing is to have that in equal opportunity in each home, when the child's in each home. Mm-hmm. And, until my relationship situation changed and my wife and my son's mom did not get along so in legendary fashion, I tried to cultivate something different. And a lot of people commented, it was kind of strange, the situation I had with my son's mom and how we were able to work together for the betterment of our son. And I think that showed up a lot in the way he behaved and the way he acted. And when that stopped, he also had a lot more problems, right? That's when we started having some issues when it came to other things, him getting in some trouble certain ways and things like that. So I'm not saying that wasn't also him just being a dumb teenager, right? And a dumb young adult. But at the same point in time, I also have to wonder that if maybe we'd have been able to keep a more structured, healthy relationship, maybe he would have, had a better example, or maybe things wouldn't have struggled for him in those developmental years, those teen years.
I really want to rail the point home about fighting for dad's rights. And I wish more lawyers and judges would take it seriously so that we could bring about family court change. You can piss and moan about all this government waste with Doge and all that. Why don't you start looking at fixing certain aspects of society? I mean, you can look at how many broken facets of our country there are. The drug war, the education system, criminal justice reform, all that. But it really starts with setting an example at home and raising excellent human beings so they don't end up in these other systems with these other problems. So give dads their fair fucking share so that the kids will do better and we'll have fewer fucking teen moms, druggies, and criminals. Think about it. Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It? That is at What Do We Call It? You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It Podcast Show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm Jmann.
This is Steiny.
And that's the end.